Today we're going to look at the top 10 rookies in fantasy scoring from week 10 to prospect out for the future, for the rest of this season, next season. This is good for Dynasty Fantasy Football, making those trades right now to get those young prospects, prospecting out for the waiver wire, getting ready for your next year's draft so you know which rookies are on the come up. But before we dig into this and look at these rookies, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're using these videos to help you set your lineups with the must start video that was dropped earlier. Go check that out. Ask your questions in the chat in that video. On top of that, we're looking at the waiver wire hard. Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're doing deep dives. We're also just going hard in the paint, looking at these young players and seeing what they're going to do. Click that button. Stop missing out. But before we begin, I always get somebody in the chat saying, hey, you're sleeping on this rookie, that rookie. This is literally the top 10 scores from the week prior. So if that player didn't get in here, maybe they were on bye. That's usually the thing. Or they just didn't score enough. They weren't hot last week. But we're looking at the top 10 scores. And our top guy right now is Bucky Irving. And I feel like this was so long ago, but this was against the 49ers. We scored 17.7 PPR fantasy points. We were the RB7 with that number. So the RBs were a little bit low last week. However, we were used in the passing game. We got 3 targets. We ran 11 routes. We're splitting the workload dead nuts evenly with Rachaad White, but we're getting a good opportunity share, almost 50%. 4.7 yards after contact per attempt. Bucky Irving has been solid all season long. The production has a little bit up and down all season long, but that's what you expect from a rookie sharing the backfield with an incumbent starter. The fact that he's earning this much workload on this team with a running back that was very productive last year, not very efficient, but productive, that's a good thing to see. That's a good thing to prospect out for next year. And his value's on the rise for Dynasty Fantasy Football. We'll talk about that next week. Ricky Pearsall enters the chat. 17.3 PPR fantasy points. He was a wide receiver 2 as the wide receiver 13 for last week. 6 targets in this matchup. 4 balls caught, 73 yards and a touchdown against Tampa Bay. The ball was flying in this matchup where he ran 30 routes at 71.4% route participation rate. He should get good work for the rest of the season. He should be pushing 70 to 85% routes. He should be getting 30 routes a game or something like that. Should be getting 5+ targets a game. Low end will be like 4, but he should be getting good work, good opportunity. He'll score here and there. He'll have 100 yards in one game somewhere down the line. He will have some good production for the rest of the season. The air yards are okay. 10.3 ADOT last week. He's getting targets downfield, kind of like in that Brandon Ayuk role. He's got the good route running. He's crispy. He's good downfield. Ricky Pearsall is on the come up. Marvin Harrison Jr., he's on bye this week. And he did well with 16.4 PPR fantasy points. Wide receiver 14. He was a wide receiver 2 on 5 targets. A 20% target share. ADOT a little bit low as we only had 35 air yards. But we ran on 96% of the routes. We only need to run 24 routes to get that clip. That being said, lower volume game. But we still got the opportunity to get it done. Marvin Harrison Jr., don't have to say much about him. Very talented wide receiver. Tyrone Tracy was one of those rookies that we were looking at. He was one of our dart throws. One of the few dart throws that got an opportunity this season because the starting running backs did not get hurt this year. Not many yet, but a 66.7 opportunity share, 4.3 yards after contact per attempt. 2 targets in this matchup. The Giants should use him a little bit more in the passing game, although he's running a good bit of routes. But you're not going to get a lot of targets when you got Malik Nabers and Wan'Dale Robinson and company. Malik Nabers is getting damn near 20 targets a game. Maybe more like 15, but still, it's a shit ton of targets. And it's going to be hard to want to target the running back when you got Malik Nabers out there. And that's obvious. It should be like that for the rest of Tyrone Tracy's career here with the Giants because Malik Nabers will be there as well. That being said, Tyrone Tracy, make sure he's stashed for the playoffs. RB13 for the week, 15.4 PPR fantasy points. He will be up and down because the Giants are up and down, but we know he's a talented runner. Devaughn Vele got some opportunity in this matchup. Our route participation rate is kicking up. That is something to look at for the back half of the season. We got the Falcons. We got the Raiders. We got a good schedule coming up. We're getting some opportunities here. We're used in the slot. We're moved around. So against tougher defenses, they're going to try and lock down Courtland Sutton. So he still might get that workload. He still might get that opportunity to give you a little something here. 13.9 PPR fantasy points. The wide receiver 21. A good wide receiver 3 last week. But we ran a lot of routes. That's a good sign. We got 4 targets. We got some opportunity. A wide receiver to look at for the back end of the season. AD Mitchell. And the thing is, Michael Pittman's back. Anthony Richardson is back. So not very many people are excited about that. But this is a wide receiver that's killing it in the advanced metrics. Getting open, getting those first 3 targets. When Michael Pittman's out, he was out on 94% of the snaps. We ran a 94.9% route participation rate. 37 routes ran. We were getting that work. 6 catches on 6 targets, 71 yards, 13.1 PPR fantasy points. Wide receiver 22. So we had some value last week. We were able to get it done. 100% catch rate. This guy's got 4.3 speed, good draft capital. There's a lot I like about AD Mitchell. Tons of upside for the long term. I would be looking at him as a stash, as a late round play in 2025 drafts. Malik Nabers. We all know about him. 10 targets in this last matchup. It was on the low for him. 13, 11, 10 in his last 3 games. 8 against Philly. 15 before the injury. 12 before the injury. He's just getting volume. Double-digit targets. He's good to go. He's rock solid. He's consistent. He is the mainstay in this offense. He's a top-tier wide receiver. He'll be a first-round pick in redraft next year. First round in Dynasty. He's up there with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Trey Benson. We're talking about him a lot this week, but he's got a lot of upside. 10 carries last week. The Cardinals were up. Slow-paced game. 4.4 yards after contact per attempt. 6.2 yards per carry. We got that 4.3 speed. We only ran 4 routes. Amari Demercado will run more routes if something happens to James Conner. But we're electric. We're electric. We can get it done between the tackles. RB22 on the week, 34.3% opportunity share. We're not expecting that to be the main thing for the rest of the season because of James Conner. However, if something happens to James Conner, you're expecting to get more workload, and you're expecting some upside from Trey Benson. Malik Washington is here, one of our favorite late-round wide receivers. He killed it in the All-Star games leading up for the NFL Draft. This is a very good route runner. He's got very good hands. We ran just 8 routes, though. We're not getting the volume, though. It's not going to happen, really, though, for fantasy. Watch him for the last few weeks of the year. Watch him for next year. He's going to stick with this team. He's a good prospect. Get him in Dynasty if you want to play the penny stocks. Malik Washington's in a good offense. He's going to carve out a role. It might be a small role, but it might be something you want in this Dolphins offense. JT Sanders is on the rise. You should try to get him cheap in Dynasty because he's not really hitting in fantasy yet. But we do have some games here where we got some production, something to note, but the volume is there. We're running 25 routes, almost a 90% route participation rate last week. The weeks prior, 5 targets, 1 target, 6 targets, 7 targets, 5 targets. That's good for a rookie tight end. Usually, rookie tight ends don't get this much workload. Usually, it doesn't happen. We've been seeing some get more workload, but a guy like this who kind of fell to the draft due to how talented he was touted for, coming out of Texas, he's getting workload, he's getting opportunity. This is a tight end you need to pay attention to for the rest of the year. The quarterbacks here. Bo Nix is a QB1 for Week 10. And we're always getting a QB1 from this class. This is a good rookie class. Caleb Williams is getting fraud checked right now. A lot of weeks in a row where he's getting hit hard. Jayden Daniels hit hard 2 weeks in a row if you're counting Week 11 as well. Getting low in the stat sheet. A lot of people worried about that. Maybe we run it back with some numbers soon. Drake Maye pushing it downfield. Drake Maye is solid. Is going to be a solid starter for a long time. Spencer Rattler got fraud checked. We're still waiting for Michael Penix. But those are the rookies coming from Week 11. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.